Hello, hello, Rhoda here. Welcome to my craft room. Today we're going to be working on our Oriental journal some more. I've gotten more things in here. I picked out stencils and some stamps, and I've got like other little paraphernalia here, like this bubble die cut and things like that all through here. And we're going to go page by page, and I don't know how far I'll get, but I'll keep going, with each continuous video, so you get to see what all gets put in here. I've got four ink colors over here to go with the stencils, and I'm going to be using these little funny brushes. I'm just going to do a light um transpiration, or whatever that word is, to get these colors to match what's on my people. And I thought these were my best ones. I've got a bundled sage because of this kind of green color here. I've got a fire brick that goes with some of these colors. Broken china really goes with her kimono. And I've got gathered twigs, which I think goes really well with this kind of brown background. So that's what we're going to use there. And for my sneaky peek, I made up another another paper bag journal. So let me get these out of the way so they don't kind of pull your eye away. I had these suitcases. Remember the art of traveling Stamperia pad I did a while back? There was this one page and it had nothing but these suitcases, but they were kind of kidsy, juvenile looking. And I decided to go ahead and use them in here. And I've picked out a few other things. I've got some cutoffs from other projects. I kind of cut around some of the little stamps. So it's sort of a cancellation kind of stamp. Maybe that went on the suitcases. I don't know. And there was a few other little cutouts that I've got on here. Some of the trims. And so it filled it out really well. So this has Splendid Travel on the front, Bon Voyage. And then I try to pick background papers that were sort of materials. So that would kind of remind you of suitcases. And, oh, I wanted to thank everybody for coming to visit. I wanted to really say how much I appreciate you coming by, seeing what I was doing today and what I was getting into. And I hope you enjoy the series that I'm doing here with the Oriental Journal. So I also had a bunch of things still from that one little package that I got from Hobby Lobby. That was the Paper Studio. So I picked out things that had to do with traveling. I also picked out quite a bit of tickets of sorts and put them in here. And any kind of strips that I had left over, I put them in. That might go with my theme. So we have an airplane over here, and it's got airplanes on this ticket. I thought that worked. And what's in here is just kind of like another type of material looking journal card for them to do their writing on. Here's another ticket. I had a few little pieces of that washi tape left over from that last thing I did, where I put these papers together. So I just put them in here. I just wanted a little bit of shine. Here is a card from that Hobby Lobby package. And then I had some Tim Holtz things that I picked out as well, which is where a lot of these tickets and things come from. So I have a little pocket here, and I've got like a via airmail kind of letter up here, since it has to do with traveling and, that kind of stuff. This was from the Art of Traveling Stamperia pad. So I've used a lot of the leftover pieces in here. Now this is from a Mente Doors paper pad. Here is I love these little tulips, and I just had to put them in here with this little strip of like kind of ticket background. I had a train that I got from maybe Tommy. I think that come from Tommy. So I've got luggage in advance. I've got a ticket. So just a little bit of layering there. And then I've got a ship over here. I try to get all the different kind of travels Because in the summer, you know, I think the travel books kind of go best. This is from that Hobby Lobby pack. I had notes and journal over here on this one, which I thought worked out good. And this is from Tim Holtz. This one had like a little cancellation on it, so I made sure to keep that. And then we have this one. And you can see all the different kind of materials that I've got in the background. I've got this one and that one. And then I've got this pretty one here. And I think it might have been all the different kinds. I did use some dark browns. So I made another ticket. I mean, a pocket. Pocket and ticket. That's close. This is actually glued to the background. So that's on there with that ticket. And I put London Bridge on here since that's a direction, you know. And then I just kind of layered this, this with the, what do you call that? A wax seal. This letter with the wax seal with this little bit of brick that was left over. And then my suitcase. And I kind of really like how it turned out. It's just different. And then on the back, I put like a world map. Or United States map. Whatever. But anyhow, I thought that helped pull in the idea of traveling. Okay, there's another one for the shop. All right, so we're going to start with the girl. And we're going to put him over to the side. And we're just going to get in here and start going at it. I've not put anything together yet, you know, secured it together. So I can pull these pieces out and work with them, you know, individually if I need to. Like if it's not going to be flat enough. Because I want to put a little bit of a background stenciling. Let me see if I can get this out. There we go. So let me set this back, and we're going to do, oh, I think it's going to rain out there. It called for thunderstorms, so hopefully I can keep going with my video and not have to worry about shutting down. Unless the lights go out, who knows? My husband, I'm not sure where he's at. I know he's off today because he's out there this morning. But then you know me, I sleep late. So he disappeared while I was sleeping. All right, so we have this. It's a little water lily, which goes with this. We have the do not follow where the path may lead, go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. And I'm trying to figure out where I decided to put that. I'm thinking I was going to put the fish up here. Oh gosh, the wind is really picking up out there. And then, let's see, what else was I going to do? I'm thinking, oh, I was going to put this one bunch down here. And then I'm going to have some of the bubbles up here. And I'm going to be cutting off some of these, so they're not going to be needed. So let me get all the brushes out of the way so I can push this up just a little bit more. I'm thinking I was going to put that there. That may be what I was going to do. And I got a feeling I was going to put that there. I had kind of laid it out beforehand to figure out what I wanted to do. And then I think I'm going to put that right there. So this stencil is Splash. And we're going to put that on here and see what we can do with it. I'm probably going to put a little bit in this area because this is pretty empty. And I may end up putting some behind the fish in this upper region because that'd be the upper type area of the water. So we want to get probably our broken china. Although there's not that much blue over here. But if we do a really light version of it, that might be all right. So let's move our fish out of the way and our bubbles. And we're going to kind of just lightly, I'm just barely touching it, but it's, yeah, it's going to town on me. Okay. Yeah, that's really pretty. I like that. It's just very faintly on there. And so I'm going to just keep lightly doing the brush. And I thought this would go really, really well with the fish, you know, because he's just kind of floating around and splashing out of the water sometimes. Yep, I think that goes good. Now I have a little bit of a split, as you see there, but I know that the fish being put down will take away from that. It'll draw your eye away. Okay, so let me set this over to the side. We're going to start gluing things down. And I'm going to kind of pause you while I glue down this bubble section here and up here, because it's a lot of gluing and I didn't want to bore you with that because I'm going to have to go through all of these little tiny places. Okay, I've got those two down pretty well. And in some of these cases, you know, I've got the big bubble hole. And I had a few of these that were on the backgrounds that were gears or coins or like just little circles of decoration. And I'm actually going to put them inside the bubbles. Now, the gears, you know, it has a steampunk kind of look to it. So I'm going to do like this. Like there's a coin, like you would throw a coin in and make a wish. I thought that might work pretty good for that. I'm just trying to figure out if I want it over there next to that one. Or maybe down here. Maybe I'll put it down here. And I'll cut off that little bit of an edge to it, just so there's a difference there. Now, I do have that going down. Yeah, I don't think it'll hurt to put that there. Oops. So that can go here. And that one can go up here. I always like to keep any little bits and bobs because you can always find something to do with them. Okay, so I've been watching some movies lately, and I'm into the Jane Austen stuff. So I love the newer, Pride and Prejudice. I love the newer version with Keira Knightley. And I enjoy watching that one. But there was an older version of it with Colin Firth and I forget what her name was, Jennifer Isle. And they were always talking about the older sister Jane being the beautiful one in the family. And I don't know, I know that forms of beauty over the years has changed greatly. Now, I thought Jennifer Isle was the more pretty sister, but they were claiming that Jane was. And I guess it has to do with the fashion of the age and how they carry themselves. And like blonde hair, I'm pretty sure was the thing to have back then to distinguish yourself as, I guess, a true English woman. I don't know. But anyhow, I was watching it. Now the mother in both of those plays such a good part. She's got like nerves, and with 5 daughters, you know, the land is going to go to a male. That was the bad thing about all that. It was always entailed to a male in the family. So the girls would have to marry and marry well. And so that's what a lot of Pride and Prejudice is about. The mother trying to marry off all those daughters. But it was fun. It's always a fun one to watch. And then Sense and Sensibility, I watched another one of them. The one besides the girl that played in Titanic. Was it Kate Winslet? This was another one. So, I mean, each one of these things has like so many reproductions or it's, you know, they've been made over and over again with different people and different producers and that kind of stuff, but they're just so fun to watch. Now, I watched a few more of Jane Austen's. Now, those two, Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility, are all about the girls, the two oldest daughters, because Jane Austen had an older sister, and they were always looking out for each other. And I thought that was really interesting that she wrote a lot of her stories that would reflect that. Now, I'm going to trim this one little bit hanging over here. And this came off of the back side, back here. Now, since I've got this one out, I'm going to see if I know what I was supposed to have on this side, if I was supposed to have anything. Okay. Oh, did you hear that? Yeah, the rain is coming, or it's here. My poor bird feeder out there is wiggling back and forth pretty bad. Oh my goodness. Okay. So this is what I forgot to tell you what it was. This is mosaic layering stencil. So I thought it had a look of you know, circles, like somebody dropped something in the pond and there's a big circle, that kind of thing. So we're going to do the same color with a pretty blue, and we're going to put it right up here at the top. And then I've got like a little trim piece that looks like a piece of wood. Kind of reminds me of wood. And we're going to put that right there. And so we're just going to cover this whole background here with this. I think I might have dipped in there a little too heavy. Ooh. I got to try to be really light and delicate, because I just want to have not a solid look, but just a hint of the background. Okay. Yeah, that kind of works. And then we're going to go down the side like this. Let's see if we can match it up as close as we can. But yes, those are two of my favorites. Then I was watching Persuasion. I think she only had about 6 books that she wrote, and she never did finish the last one. She was working on one. I can't remember the name now, but it was only 11 chapters before her death. She started feeling kind of poorly, and trying to figure out where I can continue. Maybe like here. Yeah, she started feeling really poorly, and so I don't know what exactly she had. Her time period was back here in the very early 1800s, so I have no clue. You know, they were bloodletting back then. You know how that was, you know. So really, their type of, you know, physicians and such may not have been able to even tell what was wrong with her. They probably would have just said it was a female condition, which back then she could have had, you know, ovarian cancer or something along that line. And pretty sad. But in this movie that I watched, she was really, really opinionated. And the way they played it, she didn't want anything to do, you know, with a man that was going to tell her how to live her life or cause her not to write her stories or something along those lines. They just, So I don't know who the true Jane Austen really was. But yeah, I watched one called Persuasion, and that's where she had, there was a girl that her family was well-to-do, and they didn't want her to marry a certain gentleman, and she had to deny him, though she loved him, because of them, the family. So he went off, joined the Navy, and he became well to do. he earned his fortune, and yeah. So, and it ends up her family was like a bunch of moochers. I think that's how they call it. Now I think over here is where I was just going to put this little thing just for something. This is the word for love, and we're going to see if we can pull that off without me getting my gluey fingertips all over it. And we're going to put that right there in the center. All right. Okay, and back in this section where I put that sheet back in, I have this image that was from the cut aparts, and we're going to put him down on that little piece that's sticking out. So anyhow, the girl, he comes back into the picture, and it's like they're thrown together at every instance. And the girl has become like the family staple. She's used for everything, like babysitting duties and taking care of sick relatives and this and that and the other. She has no life of her own. Her service is to everyone else. He comes back in, and they finally figure out a way to be together. I mean, this is like 10 years later, at least a decade later. So she accepts his proposal of marriage, and the family has to accept it. Okay, now over here, I put that because it had to do with this, but I also wanted to use this stencil here because isn't it where they say, like, Japan and China and all that is the land of the rising sun? So I have this raise stencil, and I'm trying to figure out which way I want to get in here and put it down. I don't know. I probably will put it this way since it has to do with raise. And then that leaves all that room there for them to draw on, or, journal on. So that's probably how I'm going to do that. Now, Wayne mentioned to me that I had something in here that had to do with French writing. And I think it was on the back of here. That was the only place I could think it was, Wayne. So I covered it with this piece of paper that sort of has the colors and it's neutral enough that they can still write on it. So I think I took care of that problem. So let me move this just a little out to the side. And we're going to get in here with our stencil and see what we can do. I'm trying to think of what other movie that I saw. Ooh, now I might do the fire brick. I don't have any colors on here except for a little bit of a yellow. So maybe the fire brick would be a good color for here. Now I'm going to use this little tiny one just because that's about the only one I have. Yeah, I think I'll do it like right about here. What's another one that I watched? I also watched a few in those time periods, but they weren't Jane Austen's. But, oh, that is pretty dark. Let's see what I can do here. I always like to read novels and stuff that has to do with that time period. I just find it fascinating how they had to contend with society with all those rules, all those different parties and things they had to go to. It was, sounded like a little pain to me. and everything was about writing. I mean, they would write to everyone, whereas today we're so used to having our phones and computers and everything else. It was amazing to get back into that time period when it was nothing to have people get together, where today hardly anybody does that. All right, this one got a little dark, but I think a little bit of distraction off of the, you know, a regular look is not bad. Like, I could probably get over here to one of these others and put a dark seam in here if I got enough on there. I didn't have enough on there. Let me do this. Okay. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So there we go. You got a little bit of variation, imbalance there to give it enough interest. If it was all samey, no, wouldn't be interesting at all. Okay. Our next portion to go to, because I think that was all I was going to do with this area. I kind of wondered about extending out the rays, but I don't really think I need to do anything else. I don't want to mess it up. And see, it's about perfect when you open that up to where it lies. Now, I wanted to go through here maybe and put some stampings on some stuff. Like, that's what I'm going to do over here. Since this stamp has to do with the writing, I'm going to get in here. Now, this one is called Typography CMS 188. I'm going to use the ink bottle and the hand and maybe the squiggle. I'm not sure, but I think that time period is considered the Regency period, isn't it? But I think it's oh gosh, their fashion, I don't even think it lasted that long. Maybe I'm thinking of, no, Victorian was at the later 1800s. So maybe the early 1800s was Regency. Okay, so I think I can put this right here. I'm hoping it doesn't go through, because I've actually got two layers against each other here. And I'm hoping it only goes through the one. Oh, good. Yes, we're good. Now, I'll clean this off. Maybe I can stamp it right here. Oh, look how pretty that is. I got a second stamp almost out of it. So we're going to put it on here, and I'll wipe this off with some cleaner. All right. Now I'm going to probably put that there. So let me go ahead and ink him up. This one I have to watch that triangle right there. So I try not to get my stamp block or my ink pad anywhere near that if I can help it. All right. And then I'm going to do like that. And if you're wondering what I'm using here, it's VersaFine Onyx Black. Ooh. Was that on my finger? Oh, I did have a little bit on my finger, but I don't think it's going to hurt anything. All right. Stamp that one off. And I'm going to see if I can get the squiggle in here, or if I need to. Maybe at the top. That might be something I could top the page with. Just for decoration. Okay, that works. That's still a little wet. I can see it glistening. So I'll let that dry while I'm cleaning off the rest of the ink from these pieces, and I'll be right back. I just remembered the name of that last book she was writing, Sandition. Have no idea what it was about, but yeah, that's the one she was writing when she passed away. Now, here, I actually picked out some of that paper that I glued together, and I thought I would have it as the background because my dragon really doesn't show up that well without it. And then I have Adventure and a little world globe. And then only he that has traveled the road knows where the holes are deep. Okay. So I want to do a little bit of a rip job. It shouldn't be too hard. Oh, yeah. Shouldn't be too hard. But yeah, I love Jane Eyre as well. And I've always loved Wuthering Heights. It's kind of an odd one. And it's like everybody in that story were selfish people. But it's interesting to see, how they lived, and, that was one of those caste systems too, because Heathcliff was just an orphan boy, and he wasn't really good enough for them in a way, I guess is how they looked at it. I'm trying to figure out which way is up here. I think that way is up. Okay. We're just going to do some glue stick and see if we can get it to go down. Yeah, Kathy, I think, was the female, and I think didn't she die or something? and her ghost kept coming back. Oh, that reminds me, when I said ghost, I was watching Fixer Upper. That is Chip and Joanna Gaines, those people like that do a lot of housing projects down in Waco, Texas area. They picked this house, or at least, what is his name? Tim? I think that's his name. Anyway, or Jeff, Tim, something. He picks out this house, and he'd been trying to get it from the owner for like a decade, he said. And he finally got it, but it was in pretty horrible condition. But they're doing the walkthrough with one of their sons, and he's swearing that the place is haunted. Which it very well could be, because there was this one door that kept slamming. I mean, they opened it up all the way, and it was still for at least a half of a minute. And then all of a sudden it starts going, and boom. Now, if it was just off level, I don't think it would have slammed that hard. Which I thought was a funny thing for them to be talking about. Okay, now how am I wanting to do this? Now, I could just do this up at the top and have the little globe right on top of it. That might work out pretty good. And then down here, I could have the saying. Yeah. I like that idea. All right, so let's see if we can get our dragon glued up here. So does anybody else like to watch movies and stuff like that? The same as me. They'll get on a tear to watch the same kind. I also watched Mansfield Park. Remember that it came out not long ago, like a new version of it on one of them pay-per-view channels or something. And it was the thing. Everybody was talking about it. So I was curious. So I watched... I guess it was a mini-series. I think there was 6 episodes. And I was watching what it was all about. Well, from what my understanding was, from where they were talking about it being on that pay-per-view channel, it was this thing about intrigue and all this kind of stuff. Well, the Mansfield Park Story movie that I watched had to do with this one orphan girl. Well, no, she wasn't an orphan. Actually, she was like the oldest sister, and of course the family was really poor, and so they sent her to live with her rich aunt and uncle, and she was raised by them, but she was kind of considered a servant. She was still considered a servant, so she watched her aunt quite a bit, who was like this frail little woman, and there was the 2 older sons, and then there was 2 daughters. And she was, always helping and doing things. And she did fall in love with the next oldest son. He was to have a minister's life. He wanted to be a minister. I think that's one of the main things for a gentleman to become back then was a minister if he, didn't have money. Like if you were the oldest son, you got the money and house and all that. And unless you were well off, you had to find a occupation to go into. So anyhow, she finally ends up with him at the end. He had his heart set on this one woman, and her brother were like, they played games a lot, mind games and such. Well, it finally came out that that's the way she was, the girl that he had a crush on. So he finally realized that the oldest girl from the sibling family was for them, although they were cousins. I don't think that stopped them back then. Okay, now you can't really see all of this dragon. I don't know why they put him in the dead center. I do not like that. That's why I ended up putting him over here, so you could still see him. And this page I'm just leaving as is. And then we have this page, which I already put like a goodwill symbol down here. And see, here's that again. That was what I think I just glued over here with. Oh, well, it's similar. It's similar. And on this page, I have one of these journal cards from the kit. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to score it right down this side. And we're going to make it a flip. Okay, I got my score in there. I'm going to get it and start getting it to bend the way I want it. And I'm going to get it in here. Now, if you think that the edges are too pokey, I'm going to get in here with my, oh goodness, with the real shallow corner punch. Yeah, that'll do the trick. Okay, so we're going to add glue to the back side of this bend. And these are called, sometimes they're called a flip out. There was another name, I think Scrapbooking with Me used to call them way back when. Oh gosh, I rounded that corner and I meant to round this corner. Okay, there we go. But she got tip out, tip in, tip out, something like that. Anyhow, so it's got several names, but we're going to go with the one we just come up with. There we go. So that's a place where you can flip it out and do a little bit of writing. You can also write back here. Okay, so on our next page, we have this. That was that liner wall mount kind of sticky stuff. And I had this trim. And I'm thinking about putting it over here. And I'm going to glue it down like it's a tuck, a long skinny tuck. Because I have this little fish card that I'm going to tuck up in there. And then I have these other pieces that we're going to decorate the page with, like our guy, and so the adventure begins, that kind of thing. So let's get in here and just glue this down through here. I think the storm is over with. It was a doozy, that's for sure. Ooh. Okay. There we go. Not quite all the way in there. There we go. Now, our gentleman, we are going to put at the base down here, like that. There we go. I like that little bit of green, really goes with that green. Okay, now we can probably put this up at the top. Perfect spot for that. Okay. I hope it sticks to this slick surface here. Okay, now this part and this part, I think I'm going to put over on this page. Kind of like a continuation. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think that'll work. Let's go ahead and do that. And since I've got a gear or two on here, yeah, I'm going to take and, let me see if I can get that straight. There we go. I'm going to take a couple of my gears up here and add them to the edge. So it will keep the same look going, you know. Alright, so we're going to tuck that right in here. And this one says, "He who returns from a journey is not the same as he who left." Okay, and I've got, whoops, trying to get my gears. Here's one. So we're going to put that one right here. And then I got a little dark one. Let's get this one. It's kind of like a spiral. He's interesting. And then right here. I think that'll work because that kind of brings you over to that. Now this little guy, he can tuck in here anywhere. So up here at the top would work good. I wish his face wasn't hidden, but it is what it is. All right. Well, I'm going to have to pull it close to today's episode. I got to get ready so I can go to town with my husband. Mom had a grill made and assembled for my brother's birthday in a couple weeks, so we're going to have to go pick it up for her. So let's go over what we did today. So we have this page which opens up, and you have some of the same colors in here as you have in the fish, and actually over here as well. You open it, you got the pretty flower, you got another one here, and you know, I think everything worked out really well here. Then we have our little sketch of our rising sun and our secret journaling spot. And then over here we have our stamped image. I really like the scroll work. I almost put a stencil of a scroll here, but I think I must have talked myself out of it. And then we have our dragon page, which I think turned out pretty neat. You've got like a circle here and a circle there and a circle there. So your circles kind of pull your eye around. And then we have our little sticker. Little things like that, you know, they add a lot, you know, because they have to do with different sizes of the same thing that's on the page. So that really helps out. And then we have this real easy one, which is just a flip out. And then we did this one, which is our little tuck page with our samurai warrior. And yeah, so we're almost halfway. So I'll probably get like through half when I'm doing these with each other. Okay. So everybody take care. I got my mind on something else, so I can't think straight now. So I want everybody to have a great, great day, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.